Hello, Yoga 108 Studio 108 seekers and sages. I'm excited to be here today with my friend and fellow Elevate Akron enthusiast, Kevin Karras. And Kevin is someone who is near and dear to my heart because we go way back. And we've shared some deep conversations. We've shared some thoughts and some growth moments, some heart and soul. We've been through a little, Kevin and I. For folks that don't look like maybe they would be friends, we are truly friends. So I'm really happy to be here with Kevin, and we're here to talk about Elevate Akron because what else is there to talk about in the yoga community in the summer of 2021, but the premier community yoga festival. People come, I know, people that come from all over the region for Elevate Akron, and people who make it a tradition, who have friend groups that meet up and come together. I know how passionate the yoga studios are in the area. When we were talking before, we clicked on here today, I said I hesitated. I didn't want to tell Kevin what my activity was at my table because I didn't want to give away my secret. I wanted to be really good. I wanted to be the best one ever. I don't want anyone to kind of know my inside story, but of course I spilled the beans. And he thought it was a good idea. So you're going to have to come to the festival and see what I'm offering. Come by and see, the new Studio 108 tent and what we've got, because it is a really exciting year. It's an exciting year for the community to be back outdoors and practicing together, to have some of the restrictions of the last year and a half lifted. But it's a really exciting year for Elevate Akron as a nonprofit organization and as a festival, because this is the first year where really the new regime, the new leadership steps forward and offers something very visible and very impactful, and just I know what goes into this festival, so I'm thrilled that you had time to stop.
She knows.
To stop what you were doing, to put down the phone and to stop the emailing and the running around. So thank you. Thanks for being here. It means a lot to me.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me that we can kind of build a bridge from, a couple years ago and kind of all the changes and stepping into what you guys are doing. Super excited to hear about it. So maybe you want to know, what am I talking about? You start the story because I've talked enough already.
Oh, yeah.
How did we meet?
Okay.
How did we meet?
That's back to the beginning.
Yeah, back to the beginning. How did you get involved with Elevate? How did you sort of come to the community as a committee member?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what I love in your introduction is just talking about the deep talks we've had over the years. I mean, obviously we met at Yoga Bliss, coming to practice, and if you're watching now, you probably know how great Chasey is. So it's
think how many years ago that would have been.
I mean,
Elevate was 15 in 2015, so it's probably 2013.
2013. Yeah, almost a decade, honestly.
Yeah.
But that's something you've always done really well, not just in classes. You have a degree of vulnerability that breaks down some of our barriers we put up.
Yeah.
And you do it not just in class, but you do it as friends outside of class.
Oh, that's a high compliment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think when I was leading the Holistic Leaders Student Group at the University of Akron, which at the time the university didn't have any meditation or yoga, and basically a group of friends and I started just a meditation group that grew and grew and grew, and we have that spring festival we host, and we featured you. You were one of the teachers that came in, the guest teachers.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
I remember, upstairs in the university in the student hall.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. It's so funny to go back to a college, and when you walk through a university as a student, you have one experience. When you walk through a university as a parent, like taking my kids to visit, you have a different lens and a different experience. But it was really cool to go back in, just as someone coming to share and to bring a gift to you guys, to gift my ideas and my class to you, and have just such an enthusiastic welcome, and have people who were young and open-hearted and just really in gratitude to receive. So yeah, that was a great day. I remember that. That was cool. It was sunny. It was really nice.
Yeah, and I think,
harmonium.
Yeah, we did. I mean, there were several years. I remember there was 1 year inside, the 1 year outside. I mean, we did so many things, and I think ultimately that's resulted in, well, I mean, when you had the first Elevate, you know, the summer of, was it 2015 or was it actually summer 2014 and then 2015 is when you got all the things incorporated?
Oh.
It might have been 2014 because now we're on 8. We're on the 8th.
Oh, maybe it was 2014.
So 2014, you had the first one, and it's like, how many people are going to show up to the first Elevate? Turns out to be 1,000 people.
Like it was like, I don't know, 700 something, like really close.
Yeah. And so then you wanted to do it every season, and I had to plug in for the university, which was the logical indoor place.
Yeah, we did a fall one in the indoors.
Yeah. So that was really nice to get to like,
yeah.
Obviously now we don't do it every quarter because that is just nuts.
That came from a lot of good intention.
Yeah.
And not a lot of experience.
Right.
Like once you've experienced it, like to put the first one on, it was sort of smaller scale. And maybe we could have done it every quarter, but it grew so fast, there was no way we could sustain that.
Yeah.
You know, then we went to 1 a year, and that was sufficient.
I mean, we got 3,000 people signing up to come to some. I mean, that's a huge yoga festival.
Yeah,
and then when you look at it, you know, because like I don't know if you know, but I spend my summers traveling and teaching yoga festivals, or I did. Like 2020 was a weird year, but like honestly, I mean, and I love if any of the yoga festivals that are out there tuning in. Like I've loved all, you know, Yoga Fest, Michigan, Shimsara, like Rootwire. There's been so many good yoga festivals, but Elevate's always been something really big and special.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about that, but let's sweep back.
Yeah.
Let's back burner that for just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to take a little timeline walk, we don't want to lose too many people. So when Elevate decided to put the festival on at the university in the fall of maybe 14 then, no, it was the fall of 15, because we had 2 and 15. That's how we get to 8 this year.
Right.
I think that's it. So whatever, it doesn't matter. Then we brought Kevin in onto the committee.
You're right.
And you were the liaison to get us into the field house. And you spoke at that festival, and you came on the committee full time, and you worked with community liaison, you worked with what else?
Yeah, I mean,
vendors.
My role was actually pretty small those first years. I mean, the first year was just kind of like being a liaison, filling out all the paper. The amount of paperwork you always have to fill out.
Yeah, it was astonishing. It was astonishing. And the waiting for the answer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they realize that it's hard to plan something until you have a yes.
Yeah.
And like, I know the festival isn't until October, but we can't wait until September 30th for the yes, because there's like all this to plan. So it was like, it was tense. You worked hard. That was a lot.
But that was mostly just paperwork. Oh yeah, food vendors, you're right. Yeah, I filled out all that stuff too.
And you went with me when we had to do all the incorporation. There's a lot of nonprofit paperwork. So you were on board with like a lot of these steps that may not seem, and this is the thing about committee work, is if the committee is really well organized, then the parts that people are doing don't seem so big.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I didn't do that much, then maybe that was really nice, that it's, you know, everybody's chunk was like not overwhelming and it could come together. But yeah, and then what happened was, I think we just grew really fast, and some of the people on the committee needed to move in different directions, including myself. So there you were, to catch the whole kit and caboodle.
Pretty much everybody.
Kevin was there with like a yes that was super exuberant, and fortunately a little bit naive, because that's how we get into the big things in life, like a big yes and a little bit of naivete, and all of a sudden you're doing something really bigger than you expected, and that's I think what you might say about this, don't you think? Yeah,
well, and I think because like the group that, you know, obviously we had a few people that were transitioning between 2015 and 2019, but for the most part, like we kind of all knew what we were doing, with the exception of a few things shuffling around, but you kind of knew what you were doing.
You kind of knew.
Yeah, and so then to bring a whole new group together to do it in 2020, and then to be planning and getting ready, and then for, you know, March, whatever, 10th, 13th hit, and everything shut down. And then basically have to call it, you know, about a month later and say we can't do it. then shifting to do it online. You know, I mean, it was a wild year of transitions, wild couple of year transitions. Yeah. But it's interesting because, you know, it also allowed a lot of time to build structure, right? Because as you're bringing new people in, you want to give them as much structure as you can. And
I feel like it gave you perhaps an opportunity to see with beginner's eyes. Like, you couldn't do the same festival.
No.
You couldn't, like, there was no expecting it to be the same as it had been before. So then it was like clean slate. Well, what will it be? How will we do it differently? And there's permission in that. It makes me think of Shiva. You know, Shiva like destroys everything so you can build something new.
Yeah.
That was a big Shiva.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
That was a big Shiva. And if not, then you're picking up and you're trying to kind of awkwardly fit new people, and new ideas into something that's been ongoing. And there's an expectation from the community, maybe the studio owners, other people. And this kind of like, maybe just let you have that Shiva clean slate. We're just going to build something new. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, learning how to do the online thing was a whole new thing, but it really went off pretty flawless, honestly. Like, and it was funny because, like, I think everyone was just kind of pivoting that time. And I like how you described it as Shiva because it did kind of wipe everything. And then it was like something like, it was crazy. It was like 3 or 4 weeks we got that together. And it was a really nice program game.
And I think it's still online.
It's still online, yeah. You can see it on YouTube.
You can see it on YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Does Elevate Akron have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, you got a YouTube channel.
Elevate Akron YouTube channel. See, look how much you've accomplished.
Yeah.
You got YouTube, you have a YouTube channel. But I thought I saw that there was a link from the website even. So you can find it on YouTube, you can go to the website. I think there's a link from the website.
Yeah, you can see what 2020 was like. But 2021 is pretty exciting. This is the year.
This is the year.
We've never had more community members sign up to be a part of it than this year.
Wow.
This is actually the biggest number of like sponsors and vendors.
In terms of the trajectory.
The trajectory. And
this early, this big.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So I want to hear back to your experience with other festivals. And like, I've been to other festivals, I presented in Sedona. So like I've had like behind the scenes in front of the table kind of experiences. And I think there's something really unique about Elevate.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about it? Yeah, because like, you know, I'm just like, even as you said that, I was like listening through my mind, like Connection Camp Out, Gratify, like Ignite Us. Like I'm thinking about all these other festivals, Rootwire, like Resonance, all these festivals that I've gone to that have a yoga and transformational feel. And typically, like the way it works, Pyro de Mayo, like the way it works is you'll have all these different areas that have workshops going on. And kind of there's an experience that happens at these festivals where you open up the book and you kind of get an option paralysis because there's like 8 things happening at once all the time. And then what happens is when you go to a workshop, it's kind of hard to be present because you don't even know if you made the right decision of what workshop to go to. And this is just something, I mean, I've observed like, you know, 30, 40 festivals I've gone to, like a lot of people talk about it. And then, you know, maybe you get, you know, in a small workshop, you have anywhere from like 10 to 15 people up to like biggest main stage of their festivals. I mean, honestly, the biggest I've ever been to is maybe 200 people tops. Tops. So Elevate, to have like one main communal practice that you've been facilitating for all these years, and to have like 2,000 to 3,000 people there doing it together is such a unique thing. It's really unique.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it like teaching there all and having that experience?
You know, it's really exciting. It's a blessing and an honor, super humbling. Like there's nothing really about me. Like I'm so conscientious that it's a service that I provide. So I feel really blessed to be able to offer that, or I felt really blessed to be able to offer that. And for me, like one of the things that makes that so special is the connection.
Yeah.
So like I loved walking around and feeling the energy of the crowd and supporting people and connecting with each other and connecting as a community to whatever ideas or, you know, enthusiastic kind of fun things that were there, like just like getting people excited and awake and alivened in that moment, like elevated, right? Like seriously.
Moving from me to we.
Right, moving from me to we. Moving from like caterpillar to butterfly, like all of those things. It's like all those things is like, how can I help you? But I think like what I pinpoint when you ask me that is the last festival that I taught, like 19, I was walking through and a woman like looked at me and she said, "You're talking, that's you." And I was like, "Yeah, that's me. I'm leading the class." And she said, "I thought it was him." And she pointed to DJ Nino. And I was like, "He's jamming the tunes. Yeah. We're working together." Yeah. It's like, it wasn't, and there were people assisting, and it wasn't about me. It was about the everybody. Right. And it's so priceless to have that gift, and it's liberating. You know, like I didn't have to worry about showing up and feeling the pressure or some sort of a performance around that, because Zach was there holding Zach holds incredible space. Like Nina was there just raising the vibe and keeping it really fun and interactive. All the teachers that were there assisting were enthusiastic and super happy to be there and really willing to like engage with people and bring it forward. It was like so many people just saying hello and hugging each other, and even if I didn't know them, like witnessing their joy was, I mean, Elevate, the whole thing was just a high. Yeah. And I felt more like a witness than a leader. Right. And that was like the gift of all of it.
It's very transcendent.
It's very transcendent, but I still want to swing back, which is very clever. We really need to like pull forward, why is Elevate like so unique? Yeah. And that single practice, I think, is it. Yeah. So, like, how does that happen?
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about, though, is at the core of it. I mean, it's so community-centric. That's the really cool part of it. It's like a community coming together to do this, which, like, you could say that about any gathering. Like, yeah, it's a community coming together. But, like, it really is. When you really think about it, like the amount of energy gets put on from the volunteers, thousands of hours volunteering to the local businesses that are like financially, not only financially sustaining it, but also energetically like advertising and helping to bring their community. And like there's just kind of a breakdown of all that competition for a day to kind of be together.
There really is. They're really
practice together. We might practice all around Northeast Ohio most days of the year, and ideally when you go to the festival, even if you don't practice, you get to plug into a yoga studio. Yeah. There's some good deals that studios give out. But then doing it all together is so symbolic of breaking down the divide. It's not just local, it's not just national, but that is international, the difference between lineages. I mean, there's always been a little...
Oh, you're so right.
A little friction, you know?
Oh, like honestly, and there are some of my elders, like there are, like a lot of, I've been around the yoga community a long time, and every once in a blue moon, someone will say, "Oh, like Tracy, you brought so much yoga to Akron." And I'm like, please, like my elders, like there are people in this community that were here a long time before me, and I have so much respect for them. And there have been, over the years, a couple of my yoga elders that have showed up, and I'm like, oh, thank you for coming. Just so honored and so humbled that they would see the event and want to wander down and see and know that, you know, all of this energy that we're putting forward is to celebrate the practice and to honor the different lineages rather than to claim it under one studio name or one style of yoga. Right. You know, to really feel like everybody can feel welcome. And these days, when you say everybody can feel welcome, it's like impossible to hold that because our culture is so split. Like, how do we make everyone feel welcome? But I think on that day, like, people feel welcome.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah. I mean, there's so many people, you know what I mean? And like that role of the assisters, you hope that all the volunteers that show up on event day there's such a key role they play in greeting people and making them feel welcome. Because if you're walking into a 3,000 person event and don't know people, I mean, that can be intimidating.
Yeah.
But I think also then everyone else kind of having that energy of wanting to invite people. And I don't know, it's just, there's an intentionality about it.
Yeah, but you're right, like bringing in all the lineages and the different studios and the different areas of the city. There's one other thing that I found over the years really exciting and was unexpected for me. And I think it was like the 3rd year we were at Block 3, so maybe the 4th year of the festival. I looked up at the row of vendors. I was like down where the food area is, and I was looking up the hillside and saw the row of vendors. And I saw tents and photo shoots and banners and games and like so many different, like it's been a year by year up level from the yoga studios. You can't, like, that's elevating and lifting the, like, I don't want to say like the commerce, but like the value of the businesses. To be able to say, let's really generously offer to our community. And that says a lot about the studio owners. And that they're willing to spend their resources to show up and celebrate yoga and to offer their gifts to the community. For recreation. And I've never heard any of the studio owners say, well, we really don't get any people after all. You know, like there wasn't anything about business. It was really like, I don't know, just like a beautiful community celebration that they're so generous and being able to grow into this. And you know, I hope it shines a really great light on yoga in Akron, that people realize that we have a lot of really outstanding studios in the area.
Well, and I think it lays kind of also, like it's interesting to think in 20 years, how will the Akron yoga community look different? You know what I mean? How will having had done this all these years together, like, you know what I mean? What will it look like then for, you know, the people that are owning studios and running them? How much of a deeper connection will there be long term? But all the studio owners, not just yoga studios, but all the local businesses, they really make it very experiential at your table. It's less like, here's a flyer, you know, I'm going to sell you on something. It's an experience. And I mean, that's part of the benefit of not having classes running all day, is that you get a chance to navigate and meet people, you know what I mean? And I just think like we've been so disconnected for the last year and a half that like, I think we're hungry for it. And obviously like some people aren't quite ready for that, and we get that, and that's okay, you know? And you know, like, of course, like, you know, we're giving out masks with tickets this year, so like you can wear your mask and you makes you more comfortable. But
I think one of the things that you guys have done too was something that had always been on my like radar, like my back burner, is like how to grow the nonprofit area, how to grow the community service year round. So I think you did just an outstanding job of like picking up the baton and moving that forward in the last couple of years. So tell us a little bit, like what's been going on outside the festival, beyond the festival? What is the organization offering the community?
Well, what we did last year, and then I'll get into this year, how it's kind of evolved. So last year, like when the pandemic hit, instead of focusing on like, oh, how are we going to put together some online one-day festival, we're like, this is real deal. Like people have lost jobs, and at the time, they weren't supporting yoga teachers and independent contractors. Basically, people on the 1099 were screwed at the start of the pandemic. So we like got out there and hustled and fundraised, and I mean, we raised like something like $40,000 that we distributed to like over 300 people. Which felt really good to do. You know what I mean? Like that was like a need, you know?
And it was a need right within the yoga community.
Like especially with yoga teachers, massage therapists, artists.
So outstanding. That was like an outstanding, pinpointed, really effective and meaningful.
So I mean, that was like that, but then in terms of like programming at the time, we were like, all right, let's pivot and do some online programming and let's do a weekly series. So I mean, you were featured in it. We did our HEAL series, which was an acronym that stood for Help, you know, Elevate Akron Live. and we streamed on social media every Sunday, and it was like something like total of like 6,000 people by the time it was all done.
Outstanding.
And we featured different local businesses and community leaders.
Are those on a playlist on the YouTube channel as well?
So right now they're just currently existing on Facebook. We've been meaning to relaunch them on the YouTube. We just haven't done it yet because it's a lot of work. It's doing everything is a lot of work.
That's why there are so many things on the back burner. So kudos to you for sure.
Yeah.
It is. But right now people can access them. Like if you go through on the Facebook to videos, maybe you can like search the archives and see some of these, because you have interviews with some pretty interesting people.
Really interesting talks. You were number one. You were the obvious choice for number one. But really powerful teachers. And I mean, that's an exciting archive of lessons. We think we did about 16. And
that's a lot. That's a healthy production.
Yeah, that's like a
series.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And so then what we kind of pivoted to over the last year then was we were realizing that the pandemic was starting to wear on people, and that we needed like even to more directly resource local businesses, because it was starting to become for some people difficult to work at home or to transition back into work. So we started doing workplace wellness programming. And we started with our frontline workers because they were the ones that were like right in it. So we partnered with the local hospital system, SUMA.
And SUMA's been a sponsor for a long time. So how exciting that we're able to step in for them.
Yeah.
I love that. Speaking of sponsors, Kevin brought some water in case he got thirsty. And so he's like, seriously, out of the gallon, but turn the label. He said, well, Distillata is providing water at the festival. So there's a shameless plug for a supporter. And actually they're bringing reverse osmosis.
Yeah, there'll be some water stations there.
Yeah.
Bring your water bottles to fill up. Of course, you can drink the city water too, but we're yogis, so we like to be kind of sattvic with our water.
What kind of water is that? Where'd you get that water?
So I mean, so doing that workplace wellness has kind of been the thing that we felt was what we were like uniquely resourced to service local organization. So we did it at public schools. We've done it at community centers. I think we've done like a total of like 12 programs so far.
Outstanding.
And then we just got a grant to start growing it. So, slowly by slowly, we want to bring yoga in places that aren't just at studios. And then it'd be exciting to think like, what if those places were like, hey, where can I do this ongoing? Here's this yoga studio. Here's the list of studios that we're affiliated with, and send them there. So I mean, we're thinking too, how can we not just think of the studios as someone that sponsors the event, but then when we go out throughout the year, how can we link that and keep supporting
and create this reciprocal cycle of support.
Giving and taking, because it has to be equal.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I like that.
So
I know that I don't think it's not a festival that could ever happen without that kind of support from the local studios. So you guys have done an outstanding job, and I hope you're getting every bit as much enthusiastic support from the studios as I remember getting as we were putting it together. What else? We need to talk about like how people can get to this festival.
Well, we've sold already, and I'm just looking at the historical data. I mean, we've already sold 800 tickets.
That's really good for June.
We're 4 weeks out, and the way we did it this year was we had a tiered pricing system. So early birds, which were $10.
You might as well just say it, because people are used to like the festival had always been free.
Right.
And so let's just take a moment and like unpack that, because I think that that's just reality. And we want to be really transparent about why that happens. 100%. So what can you say about that? Like, tell me a little bit about your reasoning behind it, because I know you and I talked about it more than once.
Right.
And I'm really happy if you feel like I gave you some insight and didn't tell you what to do. That would make me really happy to hear. So I know you had a committee, and I hope you guys made your decision, right? But you had a lot to weigh and a lot to consider. So lay it on me.
I mean, the hardest thing, this isn't just an event planning world in general, when you've had an event that's free, it's very hard to go from an event that's free to charge. Like the marathon, you can go run a marathon for $100 and they can keep bumping that up from 80 till now like 120 or whatever. But you don't think about the $40 charge because there's always a charge.
Right.
But when we go from $0 to 10 or 15 or 30, it feels big. And I think that for the most part, people have received it really well. But I mean, the direct, honest answer and response is that we want the festival to keep going, and without a nominal charge, without a charge that's close to the cost of a drop-in class in the studio, honestly, the event couldn't sustain itself.
Okay. And I think that was always the conversation as it spirals back around. It's an expensive event to put on because life costs money.
Costs money.
I mean, the city doesn't necessarily give you the park for free.
No.
And
yeah, the sound system's not free. The insurance isn't free.
The insurance, you gotta have insurance. And every year as it grew, the price of the insurance went up.
Yeah.
And
website marketing.
As much as we utilized and you utilize volunteer energy, there are professionals that need to be paid for their services.
Yeah.
And recognized and appreciated for what they're getting.
Yeah.
So it's not sustainable. And very few things really are. So as much as, it's lovely to have a free event, it's nice when you point that out, like the price of a drop-in, probably less than many drop-in prices around the area.
Yeah.
But you do have a tiered system. So tier 1 is the $10.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is until
the
when?
early bird was $10.
Okay, we're done with early bird.
So yeah, we had set when we set the prices too, we were limited to 1,000 people being there. So it was like early bird sold out in like 4 or 5 days. That was like 350, 400 tickets just boom, like sold instantly. And now this second tier, we made some more space for those tickets because it kind of opened up.
Right.
And today's the last day, honestly, for tier 1.
For tier 1, which is how much?
$15.
Okay, so today is Friday,
June 18th.
Like I probably won't get this posted.
Right.
So folks might miss today. Sorry.
But still, then leading all the way up to the day before the event at midnight, it's $20.
Okay, so $20.
That's tier 2.
Tier 2.
And then event day is $30.
$30 if you walk in. So get your tickets early.
Get them now.
Okay, so say I buy a ticket for $20 and it rains. And I can't go in the rain because I don't like to go in the rain.
Yeah, it's just non-refundable.
It's non-refundable.
You go to any yoga festival.
So then what happens to your $20?
Right. Your $20 stays in the account and it covers our costs.
It covers your costs. And what else do you do with things like that $20?
Yeah, so if I were to break down the budgets, into items, again, we're paying for a rental fee, we're paying for insurance, we're paying for the performance, the music.
Okay, so it's the sustaining of the practice, and then you've got all these other probably other projects going on too that maybe that money goes into. So
the amount of money with the current budget will budget enough to support one minimum wage paid employee.
Gotcha.
To work full time and run all the stuff. That counts all the workplace wellness stuff and everything throughout the year.
Gotcha.
Minimum wage, people.
Yeah. Okay. so not like this is a big organization, it's a nonprofit.
Right.
It really is really a nonprofit.
Right.
So your money is supporting really good causes and activities that really do stay in the city and go to people in need in the city. And I hope you feel good about buying a ticket, even if it feels risky that you might end up not going, because I feel like this organization is really worth supporting. So thank you if you can jump on board with that.
Yeah.
Well, I know you got some comments in the social media.
Yeah.
I thought it was free. Why is it not free anymore? And it's one thing to kind of look at it and say, oh shoot, they're charging for it this year. But it's another thing to make comments that are public and not so encouraging.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good. So I just want you to know that I feel you.
Yeah, and
even the whole decision and the whole thing.
And even honestly, we still don't want it to be inaccessible. So let's be straight. You go to any other yoga festival, you're already going to pay double. You go up to Hike Yoga's festival,
35.
Your entry level, if you got early bird, was higher than our day of ticket.
Okay.
And if you go day of, you're looking at like 65, 70.
Wow. Okay.
So I mean, and then honestly, you go to the Wanderlust Day Long Festival, you're looking at $108 for a day. So I mean, we're still you know what I mean? It's still cheaper, but even if you can't afford it, which we recognize some people can't, email me, Kevin@elevateakron.com, like literally email me, and I will pay for your ticket for you, because I really don't want anyone to feel like I literally can't go. I don't have the money to do this.
Right.
But yeah,
And honestly, the work that Kevin has done in the past in so many different ways through the community, when he says email me, he really means it.
Yeah.
And he's been there. So email him.
Yeah. So I'm glad we kind of address it, because it's a good thing to talk about.
And it's tough to talk about money, like especially in the yoga world. You feel like, oh, we're too yogic to talk about money, and yoga should be free, and we live on air, aren't you breathing deeply?
Right.
But I feel like there's a lot of reality that needs to happen, and it's not going to happen without money. And so it's very yogic to talk about money, because it's very yogic to make a difference in the three-dimensional world we live in, which takes money. So if you want to continue a festival and continue services within the city and continue an initiative that brings so much joy to the city, that brings so much unity to the city, that provides an event that is pro-health, pro-wellness, pro-love, that offers services throughout the year for people in need and people who are in the service industry and really stretched to the end, for them to get practices that support a healthy lifestyle. It's like a really good investment. Yeah.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you need cash to do that.
Right.
That's how the world goes around.
Yeah.
So I'm a really, if you take TT with me, like business, I want to talk about it. Like I got to know my numbers. It has to be really hardcore. Otherwise, I'm just floating up here, kind of talking about pretty things that don't mean much. So we talked about it. We talked about the money.
Yeah, we
got it right down here.
We did it.
We got it right down here. Okay, so we're gonna get our tickets, right? ASAP, get your tickets. What are the guidelines for this year? Like, how many tickets are you able to sell? Because if you were going from 800 to 1,000, you better get your ticket today.
Yeah, so it was going to only be about 1,000 we were allowing, plus like 200 vendors and stuff. But now, basically, since the governor released the order, Block 3 has, in the city of Akron, have kind of put out their guidelines, and we're 100% aligning with the rules of the city, with the governor, with the state, and with the venue that we're renting. So if you just go to the website, that's where it's most up to date. I want to give you the rules right now, but honestly, we keep putting rules out because it keeps adjusting a little. It feels pretty stable right now, the rules we have, but
you're gonna have more than 1,000 people.
We're gonna have more than 1,000 people. Yeah.
So you should know that, because that way, like, I want you to come. There are gonna be enough people to make it really great. Hey, Kevin, can you give us like any of the inside story? Will there be beach balls? Will there be bubbles?
I can't give away the secrets.
It's gonna be really fun. You guys give away the secrets?
You gotta go and experience the secrets for themselves, as you always have.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be there. And I'm gonna be there because I know there are gonna be a lot of really, really joyful people and all my friends, all my yoga friends, and I'm so excited to bring my new business table, because this is like a new and improved year for me as a business owner. The studio opening, definitely by July 15th. All the blessings, all the prayers, all the good intentions lined up for that. And I've got my really fun activity to bring, so I'm excited to get people engaged with that and to see what everybody else brings too, to see what kind of tricks you have up your sleeve. So get tickets to Elevate Akron on the website, www.elevateakron.com. Buy the shirt. What color are the shirts?
So this year, what's exciting is we're doing the first year where we're going to have white shirts.
Okay.
So very Kundalini of us.
Yes.
Very sattvic shirt. But we've talked about there may be some surprises for the white shirts options to spice them up, but I shouldn't give too much. I've already given too much away now.
Interesting. Oh, I cannot wait.
So
awesome. Okay, this is gonna be a festival, beat all festivals.
Yeah, but then also volunteers are going to get the throwback, not this color turquoise, but they're going to get the throwback branded turquoise. So all the volunteers and staff on event day will have the turquoise shirts.
Okay.
So whether you're volunteering as a specialized volunteer.
Wait a minute. You still need volunteers. I saw the Facebook post.
We do need volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you need? You need yoga teachers to assist.
Yeah, and when we say assist, let's clarify that.
Okay.
This doesn't mean you have to give, we're not doing hands-on adjustments actually, because these are strangers for the most part. Maybe there's some people you know, but a lot of people are new that come
Yeah,
down.
and if you know them, leave them alone.
Yeah. The role of the assister is basically like when you would typically go to a yoga class and someone greets you and makes you feel welcome, they give you a spot. When you're practicing, they demo, they help out the beginners. That's what the assister's doing. So just imagine that, while I'm teaching the class, you're going to have about 100, 150 students that you'll be demoing for. And it's cool because you're the one that showed them their spot. And I mean, that could be the difference between someone showing up and feeling lost versus feeling a sense of place. So it's a really key role.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the one thing that we've woven through this entire conversation is community and connection. Mm-hmm. So when Kevin says we need yoga teachers, we really, really do.
We really do.
He really needs people that will greet people and, a little bit of authority, but mostly for connection. Yeah. I only say that because it's always like, move your mats here. And it's there's a little bit of making sure you're getting, the crowd in place, but for the most part, it's just connecting with people. So we would love some yoga teachers, right?
Yes.
Okay, what else? Healers?
Healers, which is basically primarily massage therapists, Reiki. You could have a similar sort of healing modality. We've had a craniosacral person that's come.
That's cool.
And basically, it's to donate time. I think we have 2 shifts that are about 2.5 hours or so each. And bring a table and part of the donations for that are going to go to support our programming year round.
Good, okay.
So that's kind of where donations are going, and then you can sign up for that on the website as well.
Okay. So healers, if you have a couple hours that you can volunteer and give, I know it's tough because then if you get people that book at that last minute, but if you can prioritize that volunteer time on that Thursday, July 15th afternoon and make a commitment to it, it makes a big difference. People talk about that. People stand in line for that. They donate. It's one of the biggest fundraisers. I mean, I think there were years where we made about as much as the shirts. I mean, we made some good money.
I added it up and it was something like 13,000, 15,000 we gave to some county children's services
over the years. Yeah.
And honestly too, like from a exchange standpoint, talking to a lot of the healers, a lot of them do get their clients that way. If I'm going to be real straight, like you can bring your business cards. I mean, obviously it's a giving, and some people are going to really need that time, but it also is a marketing time for you.
Definitely a marketing time. I think exposure is always good. Yeah. And people are coming in, they're making a personal connection with you. So if you have time for that, they'd be really appreciated. Yeah. What other kind of volunteers? And then,
so we're talking right now event day volunteers. So we'll stay in that vein, and then we'll talk about bigger opportunities.
Like I better be careful. I'll be roped back.
Hey, there's always a spot for you. So basically, the other roles range from setup and tear down. So that's helping support with, that's like, physical labor. That is physical labor work. And it is such a key role, setting up the event, helping all the vendors and sponsors get set up when we're closing down, with everything torn down. There is tabling and registration, which is basically you're like a greeter when people are getting first in, you're working at the table, you're helping facilitate checking in tickets, or selling shirts. The other roles we have is there's a green team to try to reduce the waste.
I really loved that portion.
Yeah.
It really meant a lot to me.
So if you really care about the environment, your passion. I mean, 3,000 people produce waste, you know, I mean, any way you slice it up, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And if there's not volunteers to do that, we really can't run that.
There's nothing more disappointing. I mean, I would say it's the only disappointing thing in the event is afterwards walking around and seeing things that weren't recycled or weren't cared for properly. And Zach Friedoff and what's the group called? Zero Waste group is very knowledgeable and very meticulous about how they care for trash. And I so appreciate that. I'm not that meticulous myself. And even I could look around and say, you guys, like there was so much. So we need people that can help folks put trash in the proper receptacles and reduce the amount of waste that we have from that event, because that's yogic. Yep. And so it doesn't feel good to see a bunch of people come and celebrate yoga and talk about all of this, and then they leave and the trash is so mismatched and just things that are just going to go in the landfill that could have been responsibly recycled. Yeah. So we would really appreciate anyone who has a little bit of love for that would have spent some time. Yeah.
Yeah. You know. So that's the green team that you can sign up for. And then we also do have a family zone. So if you wanted to lend out, we have a little core group that's helping out with that. And I think that's pretty much the volunteer roles that we have for event day. Yeah. But then there's like this bigger volunteer conversation to be had. and really it's like, like being in this now, like 6 years later or whatever it is, it really can't happen without volunteer work. So, and hopefully we want to grow it into an organization where, some volunteers part-time and then some staff. Yeah. And ideally the people that are volunteering now move into staff roles. Yeah.
And I think the skill set is key. So when Kevin's talking about volunteers, he's talking about like skill set volunteers. Yes. So he needs people that are skilled at marketing, that are skilled at creating content, that are skilled at writing grants, that are skilled at what else? Accounting, finance. Finance and knowing how to file the taxes and keeping the books. And event planning. Did we say event planning? Yeah, event planning. Really good communicators. So even if you're, you're just a yogi, you're not a yoga teacher, and you're interested in just being involved with some cool people, you have skill to volunteer. And like we said, many hands make light work. Sure does. If you speak up, we can kind of, or Kevin can, like, look at me, can kind of, it went from me to me. She's signing up now. Exactly. Again, from me to me. But, you can determine, like, I have X number of hours that I can give you. I have an hour a week, I have 2 hours a month, Yeah. Like, you can kind of, like, determine.
We can work with whatever amount it is, And what's also fun is now it's become kind of a way to connect with like-minded people and make a difference in the community. Honestly, it's the core volunteers that are really making it happen. Yeah. Everyone's making it happen, but they're like on the ground. I mean, we've been on the ground for all these years. I mean, just a shout out for all you to recognize this. Like, Tracy always volunteered way more hours than you gave us credit of knowing how many hours you actually were putting in. You made it seem like your role was less than what it was. And to run it for all those years, I don't know how you did it, honestly. Yeah. Even just coming 2 years into this, I'm like, this is a lot. This is it's not a full-time job, but it's basically a pretty full part-time job. Like,
yeah, and it's a 30-65 job. Like, it's a 12-month job. Yeah. It's not. And I feel like one of the things that brought me so much joy is lifting other people. So, like, I loved lifting and supporting and bringing forward the committee members, the studio owners, the other yoga teachers. Like, for me, it was about elevating everyone involved, the businesses, the food vendors. I wanted everyone to have a really good night and to feel like they were really important and contributing to the event and to making something so wonderful, because they are. Yeah. Like, it was never about me. I loved that.
No, it wasn't. But yeah, you needed a shout out here for a minute. Publicly knowledgeable for how much went into it.
We just love the sheep.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you're going to get back to the grind today. Is there anything else you want to mention?
No, I feel like this is just really.
Get our little list.
Yeah.
Call for action.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have on my list too. Open your eyes, open your peeps. Like I put a sign out up here by my studio. When I drove up Smith Road, Yoga Bliss has a sign out. Mustard Seed has their lighted sign at Hyde Square out. Like start looking around, seeing the signs, honk your horn, get online, ask your friends, look at the Facebook post, look for the Elevate page, like, click, comment, share. Like you can do something like that volunteer right there without leaving your couch is worth everything. That's called marketing, and that is so appreciated. So call your friends that live in other cities that do yoga, ask them to come from Youngstown, from Boardman, from Poland, from Dover, from New Philadelphia, from Massillon, from where? Everywhere.
We've had people emailing from like Kentucky and Northern Michigan.
Outstanding.
They're like, hey, we're excited to come. It's a 6-hour drive. Do you have a place for us to stay?
Yeah.
There's the Airbnb listings. People are coming from all over this year.
I love this. I love this. Yeah. Destination. Akron is the destination for Summer Yoga Festival, and be really proud, Kevin. I'm delighted.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I'm excited to see Tracy's table. I'm excited to see all of you together.
For sure.
Again, always available if you need to reach out. Kevin at elevateakron.com.
And elevateakron.com for your tickets. Snag a shirt.
Yeah.
A white shirt.
A white shirt.
All right.
Yes.
Namaste.
Namaste. Satnam.
Satnam. Namaste. And many blessings. Thanks for being here. Thanks for following.